Hey folks, Gwe. I'm sure by now you've heard that we need to be worried about those people who are massing outside of our borders, just biding their time, just waiting for their opportunity to drop into our communities and take over. They're going to come and they're going to eventually outnumber us, and soon they will be the ones calling the shots. They will be the ones making the decisions. They will be the ones taking away our good jobs. They will be the ones buying our good properties. They will eventually force us into a role that we have not worked our entire lives for, into a role that is beneath us. This threat, this theory, this idea is called the Great Replacement Theory. And it's not new. It's been around for decades. It originated in France when France saw a huge influx of migrants coming in from Africa. The natural-born French people, white French people, were terrified that these African immigrants were going to push them out. We're going to replace them. We're going to take away everything that they'd spent a lifetime building up, everything that they had grown accustomed to. They were going to take away what it means to be French. They were going to make France into something that was unrecognizable. They were going to make France into something more akin to their own image. France was going to lose what it meant to be France. And this theory made its way over here now. We will all be replaced. Now on this channel we've talked about this before. This is a common subject that people like Tucker Carlson have addressed ad nauseum. Some 400 times over the last little while. It's something that we've seen recently with the 18-year-old shooter, the 18-year-old murderer in Buffalo, New York, who went into that grocery store and took the lives, murdered 10 African Americans who were doing their shopping. He did it in response to the great replacement that was looming just over the horizon. We've heard it from elected officials telling us that we need to be concerned, that they are coming, they will replace us, they will push us out, that we will somehow become second-class citizens. We will lose our place of authority and prestige and privilege. Now, if you're a Christian out there who is worried that the Democrats are bringing immigrants into your nation to replace you, or that the liberals are bringing in a swarm of immigrants in order to replace you, I'm not going to try to convince you that the theory is a load of crap. I am, however, going to try to remind you that for us to embrace the Great Replacement Theory, for us to adopt it, for us to consider it as something that we need to be worried about, requires us to ignore one of the key teachings of Jesus Christ. Mainly that's attachment to earthly things. See, there's two key components to this theory, isn't there? The first is that there are people out there who want to come here. And the second is that when they come here, they will take from you what you cherish. Whether that's your financial fortune, whether that's your job, whether that's your way of life, whether that's your ability to choose the direction that the nation will go. These people coming, the first is those people coming in. The second is that they are going to take something away from you that you cherish. And this is where I want to focus, because if there is something here that you cherish, that you're afraid somebody is going to take from you, then you've forgotten about the many times and in the many ways that Jesus has expressed to us in his words as documented through the 4 Gospels, that we are not to be attached to things of this world. That there is nothing in this world that we are supposed to be so fixated on that we want to wrap our arms around it and make sure it doesn't go anywhere, that we want to hold on to it for dear life. There is nothing in this world that you and I are supposed to be working for. No reward, whether it's something material or something intangible. There is nothing in this world that we are supposed to be working for, because Jesus tells us that everything in this world is temporal. It is all impermanent. All of it will one day turn to dust. All of it will disappear. All of it will rot. All of it will be consumed by something else. All of it will be lost. We'll take none of what we gather for ourselves here to our eternal home. And therefore, all the time we spend trying to gather that stuff up for ourselves, all the energy we spend trying to gather that stuff up for ourselves, it's all a waste. It's all a waste. We, as Christians, are supposed to be spending our time, spending our talents, spending our energy for heavenly treasures, for treasures that will last an eternity. Jesus tells us that you build up for yourselves treasures in heaven. Forget about the stuff around you. Build up for yourselves treasures in heaven. Work for those heavenly rewards, where they won't fade, where they will last forever and a day, where nothing else will consume them. These are the things that we're to be working for. And we're to do that by loving our neighbors. Loving our neighbors as we love ourselves, loving our neighbors as we want to be loved, loving our neighbors as Jesus loves us. And the reason we're to do that isn't just because we love them, but rather because our work for our neighbors is an expression of our love for God, who ultimately provides us with those heavenly rewards. So if you're out there and you're afraid that somebody is going to be dropped into your community and eventually they will outnumber you and they will take away everything from you that you cherish, everything that you love, well, even if they are out there, and even if this conspiracy theory is true, you may still be focusing on the wrong thing. You are still focusing on the wrong thing. You're wasting your time, you're wasting your talents, you're wasting your energy building up for yourselves an earthly kingdom that will one day be taken from you. Whether by somebody from across these imaginary lines we've drawn, or whether it's just because one day this body you inhabit ceases to operate. Our call as Christians is to focus on those people around us, to be there for them, to build up for ourselves treasures that will never rot, never fade, never be eaten by moths or rats or mice. If we find ourselves consumed by a fear that somebody is going to take something away from us, then it's an indication. It's an indication that our hearts are pointed in the wrong direction. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord's face be made to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord's countenance be lifted up to you. May you always know the peace of being in the Lord's presence. I pray that you and I would let go of our desire to build up for ourselves treasures here in this world. That we would let go of our notion to seek out rewards that we might receive here in this world. so that we can let go of the fear that somebody is about to take away something we possess in this world, so that we can truly focus on building up for ourselves the treasures in heaven that Jesus asks us to build up by serving our neighbor, whoever our neighbor may be, wherever our neighbor may be. Amen. Numultus.